Welcome back, everyone, and today we're going to be continuing with our read aloud, but this time we're going to be, hopefully, if the storage problems don't happen, we're going to hopefully do chapters 2 through 6, which is going to be some new entries, and this is just a table of contents. I'm not going to list that because it's going to take forever. And you probably don't want to see me go through the table of contents. So let me just skip. We just did this. 1, bears. And we left off at tooth snails when it stopped. So yep, these tooth snails are herbivores. Feeding on, tooth snails are herbivores. Feeding on plants and mushrooms, they have a lifespan of between 20 and 200 years depending on the species. And that wraps up the chapter 2 of tooth snails. Chapter 3, slobsters, aka the decapus. The slobster looks like a giant octopus. So for anyone who might want to draw this, it's just a giant octopus with a few extra features. For one thing, it has adapted and evolved to live on land. It even has a lung, like snails and slugs on Earth. So snails and slugs on Earth have, to breathe, they have this hole on the side of their body, which is called a pneumostome, and it connects to their lung. They only have one lung, and that is also the breathing organ used by slobsters. The technical name for this creature is the decapus, because unlike the earthly octopuses that have 8 tentacles, slobsters have 10. So if you're going to draw this octopus type thing, slobster, draw it with 10 tentacles, not 8. The reason they are called slobsters is because of a disgusting eating habit they have, which involves leaving uneaten, mangled parts of their prey all over the place. They are slobs. Now you may be thinking that they leave these messes there because they're too lazy to clean it up. No, they do it on purpose as a warning against predators, pests, like things that are trying to steal their food, and other slobsters. So basically the message that they're trying to convey through these messes is, mess with me, and this is what you're going to look like by the time I'm done with you. These creatures are quite large. The Abigailian slobster can reach 15 to 30 feet wide, and they can weigh, on average, 2,000 to 4,000 pounds, 1 to 2 tons. So for the dimensions, they're about twice as wide as the length of a car, and they weigh as much as one. But, yep, the Plutonian slobster can grow to be much larger, 8,000 pounds or 4 tons, or 4,000 kilograms if you use metric. The slobsters that are 2,000 to 4,000 pounds, that's 1 to 2,000 kilograms if you use metric. And the Plutonian slobster can grow to 60 feet wide. The smaller species of slobsters spend most of their time in water, while the larger species spend most of their time... this larger species spends most of their time in water, while the larger species live on land. The largest species of slobster is the sea slobster, which is over 150 feet wide and weighs up to 15 tons. Like the octopuses that live on Earth, slobsters are able to change the color of their skin to blend in with their environment, like camouflage. But unlike normal octs, I put octs because I was too lazy to say octopuses or octopi, they are also able to change their body odor to hide from predators or prey that have a good sense of smell, or to lure prey. So not only can these things change their color, they can also change what they smell like, so that even if things can see them, they can't even smell them. So that's terrifying. Like earthly octopi, they don't have bones, so they can fit through very small spaces. But they can only fit through spaces that their beaks can fit through. Like a real octopus, they can fit through a tiny space as long as they can get their beak through. But they have a kind of a loophole to get past this. As the beaks are the only hard parts of their bodies. Because of this, they have the ability to ditch parts of their body that they find inconvenient by cutting off all blood circulation to those parts. For example, if they want to get in a biller's molting chamber, but it's like sealed up, but there's only a tiny hole and the beak is in the way, they'll cut off all blood flow to their beak and let it fall off, and they will get inside it now that they don't have a beak. And then they can regenerate that beak in less than 4 hours. Which, sorry, I didn't really think this part through, because how the heck is the lobster gonna eat the biller when it doesn't have a beak? That's the part I didn't think through. That means it's gonna have to wait 4 hours for the beak to grow back before it can get its food. Although they live on land as adults, they are terrestrial, but they lay their eggs at the bottom of lakes and ponds, the Abigailian River, basically any freshwater body, they will lay their eggs in it. The eggs hatch into larvae that look like half leech, half squid. They spend 3 years in water, eating anything tiny enough for them to grab and eat. Like maybe some algae, some plankton, some small fish. Things of that nature is what they eat when they're in this larval stage and they're in water. When they reach maturity, they crawl out of the pond or whatever body of water that they were in when the lobster laid eggs. Affix themselves firmly to a rock, tree, or large mushroom, or anything that is stuck in the ground and will not be moving for this process that comes next, and then they shed their gills. This process involves vomiting up their gills and then re-eating them to replenish the nutrients that they contain. They also shed their fins and their outer layer of skin, and then a hole will open in their bodies, which will become an orifice that will lead to the lung. Basically that pneumostome that we discussed. The full process can take up to 24 hours to complete, and during this time they will secrete a highly toxic purple slime to prevent predators from getting at them when they're in this vulnerable state, where they're basically like metamorphosing. The slime wears off a few hours after they finish. The lobsters have retractable spikes inside the suction cups on their tentacles. These can also be ditched and regenerated at will. The spikes are used for defense, as well as fighting over territory, dominance, and mates. So they're basically like tiger claws, but instead of claws, it's just a bunch of spikes inside the tentacles that pop out when the lobster needs them. Lobsters are carnivores and will eat anything they can overpower with their powerful and muscular tentacles, though their primary source of prey, or their preferred prey, is billers. Lobsters have superb day and night vision, a great sense of smell, great hearing, and they can sense the slightest vibrations in the ground. They have a few methods of hunting, all involving ambush and camouflage. The first method is to get into a bush in the jungle canopy or some other place, then change their skin color to blend in with it. They will alter their odor to be like a fruit or some kind of food that the billers like to eat. So they do this to get the biller as far away from the herd as possible. When the unlucky prey gets within striking distance, or it's far enough away from the herd, it will then launch out of its hiding place, and then pounce on the biller, using its tentacles, wrapping its tentacles around it, and then using the powerful suction cups and sticky mucus to affix itself firmly to the biller's hard shell. So now it's so suction cupped and sticky that they can't get it off. They must be subdued quickly. Not only are they 4 to 5 times the lobster's weight, they're also extremely powerful. A single swipe from one of those sharp-ended front legs could tear the creature's squishy